Could you be living a bigger life? Ask an asthma specialist about Fasenra.
A lot has changed the last few weeks, but one thing hasn't. Breakfast. If that feels like a little bit of comfort, it's thanks to the farmers, line workers, and truckers, grocery stockers and cashiers, and the food bank workers.
Bhavin, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm not hearing any audio.
It's I don't see your camera.
Everybody's muted.
Okay.
Miss Kiwi,
Yes.
I'm gonna call you. It's just the way you join. You might have to go out and join with audio. So
Use the computer audio.
Go out and come back in.
go
Okay.
out and use your computer audio. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. I can't take the phone calls. What's up? Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Azar?
Yes.
Okay, I'm back. I don't hear anything. Is anybody talking? Should I be hearing something right now?
Kathy, I need your phone number.
Okay,
Or
845 356.
Kathy, I'll share with him. Give him a minute.
Okay. Hello.
Kathy, first of all, I want you to leave the meeting.
Okay, again? Okay.
I need you to really drive tonight, honestly.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great.
Kathy, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right, good.
Thank you.
Get the screen up. The screen is not shared.
We can see it, Dr. Wortham.
It's not full screen.
Bhavin, you going to start recording the meeting now?
Bobbin, get the, hello? Hello?
Right here.
You got full screen. Where's full screen? Oh, okay. He said, and I can't see the mic. Okay. Mm-mm.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, I need to see the microphone. Come down.
There you go. All right, just unmute here.
Mhm. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Trigger. Hmm.
Good evening, Dr. Wortham.
Good evening, Mr. Grossman.
Are we ready to begin? We have 5 board members present.
Okay.
Call this meeting to order. We'll wait for the flag to go up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God,
Under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, a moment of silence as I read 2 resolutions for 2 staff members that we have lost. A resolution of respect for Susan Peñalosa. The Board of Education and Superintendent of the East Ramapo Central School District submit this resolution of respect. Be it known to all, Ms. Susan Peñalosa served with dedication and compassion as a bilingual elementary teacher at Summit Park Elementary School for 3 years. And whereas Ms. Peñalosa was a devoted teacher who absolutely loved her students. She worked tirelessly to make sure her classroom was a safe and supportive place for students to learn. She endeavored to find ways to improve her teaching practices and learn new methods of instruction to engage her students. She had an excellent work ethic and was always the last teacher to exit the building at night. She had high expectations for all of her students. She modeled for them that they could embrace their culture and be successful. Whereas Ms. Peñalosa had a warm and welcoming way of connecting and building trust with parents that made each of them feel comfortable and proud to have her as their child's teacher. Whereas Susan was supportive of her colleagues. She assisted them in the use of technology devices and programs, shared her teaching experiences, and imparted information she learned at teacher professional development sessions. She was greatly loved and respected by the Summit Park family, largely because of her devotion to her students. Ms. Peñalosa was a joyful, happy, and positive person. She was passionate about dancing and entered many dance competitions. She was family oriented and took excellent care of her mother and brother. Now, therefore, the Board of Education resolves as follows. Ms. Susan Peñalosa is recognized for her significant contributions to the East Ramapo Central School District. The district mourns her passing with regret. This resolution will be read and a moment of silence will be held during the public Board of Education meeting on April 21st, 2020, in recognition of Ms. Peñalosa. A copy of this resolution will be given to her family from the East Ramapo Central School District and a copy retained in the archives. Submitted this 21st day of April 2020, Dr. Deborah L. Wortham, Superintendent, Mr. Harry Grossman, President, Board of Education. The second resolution. Resolution of respect for Ms. Agnes June. The Board of Education and Superintendent of the East Ramapo Central School District submit this resolution of respect. Be it known to all, Ms. Agnes June served with dedication and compassion as a teacher aide for the East Ramapo Central School District for 17 years. Having worked at the Ramapo Freshman Center, Chestnut Ridge Middle School, and Spring Valley High School. Whereas Ms. June arrived to work every day with joy. She was sensitive to the needs of the students in her care, knowing that they needed support and independence. Agnes brought her expertise in math and her love for reading to the classroom. Her patience and caring demeanor helped students both academically and socially. Agnes's kind heart, loving spirit, and bright smile brought a feeling of comfort to everyone who knew her. She was considerate and thoughtful and always ready to help others. She volunteered to help with school projects, was instrumental in creating a literate environment for students, and brought in food and clothes for students. Ms. Jones cherished her family and loved to spend time with them. She was a loving wife to her husband, John, and a dedicated, proud mother to her children, Christopher and Caitlin. Whereas Agnes will be sorely missed by her students and colleagues. Her memory and dedication to the East Ramapo Central School District will be etched in our hearts forever. Now, therefore, the Board of Education resolves as follows. Ms. Agnes Jones is recognized for her significant contributions to the East Ramapo Central School District. The district mourns her passing with regret. This resolution will be read and a moment of silence will be held during the public Board of Education meeting of April 21st, 2020, in recognition of Ms. Jones. A copy of this resolution will be given to her family from the East Ramapo Central School District, and a copy will be retained in the archives. Submitted this 21st day of April, 2020. Dr. Deborah L. Wortham, Superintendent, Mr. Harry Grossman, President, Board of Education. Now, the moment of silence. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Wortham. I think we can skip over the fire exit announcement.
And right to the presentation from the students. Thank you.
moving forward, I was informed by the district clerk that we have no speaker cards.
So white, the bright, blessed day, the dogs say goodnight, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The going forward. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right, Mr. Grossman.
As I was saying, I apologize, the sound went out a little bit there. Obviously, we don't need the fire exit announcement this evening. And the district clerk had indicated to me that there were no speaker cards. So going forward, Dr. Wortham.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to the board and the community. Our mission statement: as a unified community, the East Ramapo Central School District is committed to educating the whole child by providing a healthy, safe, supportive, engaging, and challenging learning environment. Our vision statement: we will become proficient in all that we do. In our 5-point plan, we want staff and students who are healthy, safe, supported, engaged, and challenged. This evening, we present to you the continuity of operations as well as instruction. As you know, the governor and the Commissioner of Education put forth 3 initiatives: the flexible home learning, the food distribution, as well as the childcare. I want to share with the board the fact that we are in the process of documenting our reciprocal communication, our forward communication with our families. We are looking into several ways in which we can do that, and not just one way, but a variety of ways in which we can communicate with our students, with our families on a regular basis. And now you can see just one data set. And this is just some of the teachers who have moved forward with the communication. I would like to, in this order, ask the members of cabinet just to bring the board up to date on the curriculum and instruction, the flexible home learning initiatives that we have in place for the East Ramapo Central School District. First, English language learners, Melissa Barrow.
Good evening, Dr. Wortham and members of the board. We continue to provide support for all of our students who are learning English or who are learning a language. And for our English language learners specifically, they are being supported by their English as a new language teachers, as well as their bilingual teachers. The teachers are meeting virtually on a regular basis to discuss strategies and supports for students so that they can acquire academic language. And that is for my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Special Student Services, Ms. Tamar Walker.
Good evening, Dr. Wortham. Good evening, board. We continue to support our students with disabilities in many of the similar manner in which we do throughout the school year. We make sure we maintain the emphasis on their IEPs. And so we first begin to just make sure that all students have access to the same curriculum as their general education peers. And then our special education teachers work to modify, add, have accommodations and make adjustments to that instruction, to that curriculum based on the students' IEPs. Teachers are meeting regularly. We're providing supports and we're ensuring that our families are supported along with our students. And all of our plans, all of our procedures are in line with state and federal government regulations and all of the guidelines that they have put out thus far. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Secondary Education, Dr. Augustina West.
Good evening, Dr. Wortham. Good evening, board members. The New York State Education Department canceled all Regents examinations for June 2020. What that means is that students who are currently enrolled in courses that culminate in a Regents examination will be exempt from that Regents examination for the June 2020 school year. In addition, students who are preparing for the advanced Regents designation on their diploma, if they had the intention to take the required examinations, those examinations are exempt as well. Thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. West. And professional development, Ms. Ogechi Iwaha.
Thank you, Dr. Wortham, and good evening, Board of Education. To support the foundation of the professional knowledge as it speaks to remote learning, the Office of Curriculum and Development, Curriculum and Instruction, has offered professional development sessions on district-approved distance learning tools. Feedback has been positive from over the 850 participants. These interactive sessions, facilitated by our partners, vendors, and teacher leaders, aspire to leverage the creativity and innovation use and the innovative use of technology to enhance the flexible home learning lesson activities. Ms. McVeigh?
Good evening. In summary, the district's universal principles of flexible home learning rest on keeping students at the center of all that we do and designing learning for equity and access. Thus far, our teachers and administrators continue to plan and deliver engaging lessons for our students, coupled with maintaining a homeschool connection with our families. Most importantly, the focus is on creating an experience where our students feel safe and supported at this time. So in support of equitable access to learning, teachers plan and deliver content in multiple ways by varying instruction and content, delivering experiences in what we term a flexible manner. All students are able to access learning remotely, and at this time, we are inviting Principal Andriello of Elmwood Elementary School to demonstrate the ease of this access to the flexible home learning experience from the view of our students and parents. In this demonstration, you'll see what we do on the general education side and what we refer to as equity and access for those students who are in the area of special student services, as well as the area of our English language learners. Principal Andriello.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening, Dr. Wortham and board. It is my pleasure to present this flexible home learning plan and the view that the parents will get and students will get when they go right to our district homepage, as you can see on the screen. When you go to the homepage, you simply go right up to the top here where it says select a school, and you will see there'll be a drop-down list. I'll go to Elmwood since I am representing Elmwood tonight. And this will take you directly to the homepage for Elmwood Elementary, as it does if you were to go to another school. And I will go where it says under the Flexible Home Learning tab, I will go under where it says Learn More. And it'll take you to another page here that says Flexible Home Learning, where you can click here for Flexible Home Learning activities, which will take you to the lesson plans themselves. Here is the Flexible Home Learning site. And if you see on the left-hand side here, you can click under schools and you will get a list of schools. You can simply go right to the list here. I will go to Elmwood. And our public site will pop up for Elmwood. We have a number of folders in there. And for this demonstration, I will go into the grade 4 lesson plans. And when you go into the grade 4 folder, there is also a subfolder, and we at Elmwood, we label them by the dates. They're in 2 weeks packages. Right here is for April 13th through the 24th, which we're currently in. And you can see we're already setting up for the next 2 weeks of the April 27th through May 8th. So I will click on the most recent one. And as you can see, when you go in, it's a Google document that you can see all of our teachers' names, their email addresses. If parents or students need to email, they can simply click on this link and send them a message. And as you scroll down, you will see that we first start with English language arts. And each of the lessons have in them a learning target, an activity, and resources. And I will focus in on a lesson from today, which is Tuesday, April 21st. This is for ELA. The teachers on each grade level came together, made this lesson. There's a learning target which says, I can determine the main idea of a text. by using key details and key vocabulary. What the activity is explaining is they're looking at, these are fourth graders, an excerpt from the Declaration of Independence, because they're studying colonial times and what the Declaration says. And the teachers have broken up the activity into online activities. And as you will see, as I scroll down a little bit, there is something for offline. And on the online activity, students can watch a YouTube video, which the teacher so nicely put a link in here. And I'll click on this to show you the ease of going in. And it shows you a graphic organizer and the specific vocabulary that they're reviewing right now. So it gives them further assistance when they go in and they work on this activity. And the teacher even explained here, the video walks you through the worksheet that they're going to need to fill out when it comes down to the worksheet link here. They're again focusing on the Declaration of Independence and excerpt from that. And if we click on this link here, it'll quickly show you what the worksheet looks like with a point and a click. And when the students fill this out, the teachers, they can upload this to Google Classroom and the teachers can look at it for feedback for the students. And as you scroll further down this lesson, there's even a question here that the teacher wrote for the students to think about. What group of people were the writers talking about? And then they want them to use the glossary to help find the meaning of the words alter and abolish. And then as you go down, as I spoke of before, there's an offline assignment where the students can put a note catcher together from the excerpt that they have gotten access to of the Declaration of Independence, and they can write down specific notes, and they can also send those to the teachers. Also, teachers have links to other type of platforms that students can hyperlink to and do some further practice on comprehension skills and even mathematics. And if I scroll down further, you can see where resource room special education, our teacher from the school, if the students click on this link, they can get some further assistance for this particular lesson that will differentiate it for them and their learning. And our ENL teachers, reading teachers also have access, and they have documents that they put links to. And you could see even visual links in the lesson to the next day where they can open it up and they can even on their phones and use paper and pencil to jot down some notes as well. And if you go down further, you can see that we color coded ELA, then we went to service providers, then we went to math, that's in blue. And the math lessons are the same. They have a learning target. They have activities both online and offline, and they have resources for the students. And the lessons go from ELA to math, to social studies, to science. And also at the very bottom, we have links to our specials like physical education. We also have links to our music, our art, and our library and media specialist. So this is a very concise document, and we use the same format for each of the 2 weeks that roll out. And teachers also copy these lesson plans into their Google Classrooms, and also if they use Class Dojo. So I hope that was a very quick, brief tour of our flexible home learning plan, and we're getting very wonderful feedback from it. And thank you very much for letting me present. And thank you very much, Dr. Wortham.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Andriello. We appreciate all that you are doing as the leader of the Elmwood Elementary School. We are so, so grateful, and we are grateful for the work of all of our teachers. We're just grateful, absolutely grateful. A round of applause for the work that our principals are currently involved in and the work that our teachers are currently involved in. And I have to say, and the work that our families are involved in supporting our young people. Just a round of applause all around. And while I'm still talking about the celebration, let me thank my cabinet, curriculum, and instruction staff for your dynamic work in making all of this come. So I want to talk
Dr.
about,
Wortham,
yes,
may I ask a question?
yes.
Yeah. I think that it's very impressive, the flexible home learning, the way it's structured, the way it's presented, how it requires the children to provide feedback back to the teachers so we can see their development and growth and ultimately proficiency in the subject matter. That's terrific. Are we finding that the kids are participating in the flexible home learning?
Yes, and you saw the first slide that I showed that really, even on a pilot, if you will, the number of teachers who have used that platform that gives us feedback. I'm going to ask Ms. Andriello to respond.
Yes, thank you. We find about between 65 and 70% per week are participating. And as we reach out even more and investigate, some other issues with technology, we find more and more are participating. So we do keep a weekly participation rate. We keep it going, we keep it communicating. We use Class Dojo to send out messages to. We make phone calls, and we find that the families and the students are yearning for this. And we're so pleased to have this to give to them. And our teachers are working triple time to make sure that the parents are clear, the students are clear, they answer any and every question. So we've gotten some really good feedback on it.
So in the last week, we've asked every principal to have their team to contact every student.
Yes.
Every student. And I know that was a very lofty goal, but they did it. And I am grateful. So we're in communication to help to meet those technological needs and for each home, and we're moving forward. So I'm grateful for that. Child care update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Child care update, Dr. Shanahan.
Thank you, Dr. Wortham, and good evening, members of the board. The district is continuing to participate in the child care program for first responders as per Governor Cuomo's executive order. The child care program is a collaboration among Rockland BOCES, Child Care Resources of Rockland, and the YMCA. At present, there are 2 sites in operation in Rockland County, one in Upper Nyack and the other in West Haverstraw. Our site is ready to begin providing services as the number of children warrant that. We are already participating in providing services at those 2 sites. Our nurses have been scheduled to collaborate with the other districts and provide nursing services. The child care program is as I said, is a Rockland County program. So all school districts are collaborating with one another to provide the services as they are needed. Thank you, Dr. Wortham.
Thank you, and thank you for all of your effort and making sure that our child care process is in concert with Rockland County. It is such an initiative to work with all of the districts in Rockland County on this very initiative. And I'm glad to have your tremendous leadership on this.
Thank you.
All right. Child nutrition update. Let's hear from Tom Carton.
Good evening, Dr. Wortham, the board. Mr. Swigler and I are at the central kitchen every day to ensure that our workers are properly protected with their own personal PPE, and we give them their assignments. Since we started this program on March 18th, we have served 70,586 meals to our students. The meals consist of breakfast and lunch and snacks. The students are also provided with the same breakfast, lunch, and snacks throughout the weekend. As we continue the program, I'll continue to update the board. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Carton. You and
I have a
Mr.
question for Mr. Carton. Is that okay?
Sure.
Tom, is it distributed or is it picked up by the parents?
We have 9 distribution locations, and the families come to those locations. We try to have them centrally located in the district so they don't have to travel far.
Can you give me like an idea of where those locations are?
Martin Luther King Center, Spring Valley Police Department, Ramapo High School, Caciat, Pomona, Summit Park, Spring Valley, and Chestnut Ridge.
The school buildings.
Yes,
We're using the school
they're all on
building.
our property.
Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. Mr. Carton and Mr. Schwegler, you all have not missed a day, not one day, and I am extremely grateful. I must recognize the other members of your team, Melissa Barrow, Walter Patchy, and Mary Skolnick. Thank you so very, very much. We tremendously appreciate you. And now the calendar. I just want to bring some information to the board, and I'm going to ask Mary Skolnick if she would speak about the calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Wortham. Good evening, board members. I'm going to go over what the current 2019-2020 instructional calendar looks like at this time. The months of September 2019 through February 2020 looks the same as the calendar which was approved by the board last year, except for the addition of December 2nd as a snow day. So since September through February are essentially the same except for that one day, let's talk about March, when we began a new normal. The first week of March, which was March 2nd through the 6th, was a regular school week when we were in our buildings. The evening of March 6th, we were notified that some of our students were exposed to the coronavirus. So we took extra precautions by taking some snow/emergency days for the purpose of disinfecting our schools and buses. We used the week of March 9 through 13 as snow/emergency days. Monday, March 16th, we used our COVID-19 legislation emergency closing day. School districts which had at least one student who tested positive for the coronavirus received a 24-hour emergency closing day, and we used that day on Monday, March 16th. So these 6 days, March 9th through the 16th, were not counted as days of instruction. Tuesday, March 17, we moved our superintendent's conference day to this day. We had it scheduled for March 20th, but we moved it to March 17th. Students were not in attendance, but we held professional development activities for the staff in online meetings all day. This day counted as a day of instruction. Wednesday, March 18th, was the beginning of remote learning according to the governor's executive order. In April, the governor's executive order mandated that remote learning, childcare for essential workers, and food distribution had to continue every day through April. So even though there were previously scheduled spring breaks, we worked and provided services every day in April. The governor has On April 16th, the governor extended his school closures through May 15th. So we will keep the board apprised as we move forward. That concludes my report on the 2019-2020 instructional calendar.
Thank you, Mary Skolnick. Thank you for the work in being the mastermind with this calendar. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
I
now,
have
yes?
Mary, the question is for you, or maybe Dr. Wortham, maybe you can answer this question. Since, isn't there a waiver on the 180 school day requirement for this year?
There is a waiver on the 180 school day requirement, but we don't know what the end of the school year will look like at this point. So that's why we wanted to make the board aware of where we stand today.
Okay.
And whatever
Thank you.
adjustments we will make as we know more information.
Okay, thank you.
And speaking of the 180-day waiver, New York State extended the stay-at-home order through May 15th. So that's what we know at this time. Chromebooks for kids. Chromebooks for kids. This is so exciting. I am going to actually read a press release about Chromebooks for kids. And I should say that I was introduced to the McCourty twins by another graduate from East Ramapo Central School District, Mondaire Jones. And here's the press release. The Super Bowl champions, Devin and Jason McCourty of the New England Patriots, are stepping in to address an urgent need in Rockland County, New York, purchasing $90,000 worth of Chromebooks for students who don't have access to computers at home. The COVID-19 health crisis has closed schools across the country, and hundreds of students in the East Ramapo and Nyack school districts are in need of Chromebooks to be able to learn and continue their education online. Even with this generous donation, there is still a need in the district, and the McCourty twins have partnered with the Rockland Community Foundation to set up a Chromebooks for Kids fund where people can donate to buy more Chromebooks for the rest of the students in need. This issue hit home for Devin and Jason as they grew up in Rockland County, going to school in both districts, first attending Upper Nyack Elementary School in Nyack, and then later Chestnut Ridge Middle School in East Ramapo. In the tough times that we're in, I believe supporting the students in Rockland will provide hope to the community and give the students a chance to be great, said Devin. It's awesome to be able to support an area that helped make me who I am today. What better way to give back than to help provide for the future our youth, added Jason. My brother always said, make sure blessings don't stop with yourself, but that they flow through you. We believe this is an opportunity for us to use what we've been blessed with to help others. While our schools are closed, the learning must continue, said East Ramapo Central School District Superintendent Dr. Deborah Wortham. Without question, our students will benefit directly from the generosity of the Chromebooks for Kids Fund. Now more than ever, children rely on technology to stay engaged with school. This effort will ensure our students have the digital resources needed to continue their education during this unprecedented time. We cannot thank Devin and Jason McCourty enough for investing in our community and our schools. Finally, the Rockland Community Foundation is committed to improving the quality of life for all people in Rockland County by increasing charitable giving. Its mission is to connect people and businesses with the causes that matter most to them through the creation of funds across a wide range of interests that donors create and the foundation stewards. The Rockland Community Foundation is honored to be able to steward this important fund that will directly help students in our county, said Julie Sadowski, Executive Director, Rockland Community Foundation. We applaud the work of Devin and Jason. So we are extremely grateful for Chromebooks for Kids. Stay tuned and we will keep everyone abreast of their next steps. And now.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Boo
For
the Patriots, but good job by the McCourties.
good job for the McCourties. Yes. We love the Patriots too. All right. And now our proposed budget for 2020-2021. Our proposed budget is based on our 5-year strategic plan. What is the tax levy? What is a tax levy? The total amount that a school district collects from property owners to balance its budget. The levy is determined after accounting for all other sources of income, including state aid. The tax cap maximum, our tax cap does not exceed New York State maximum allowable cap. The statewide allowable tax levy increase is calculated by the State Comptroller's Office. Mr. Patchy, our Assistant Superintendent for Finance. Mr. Patchy.
Good evening, Dr. Wortham. Good evening, board. We are in front of you with presenting a balanced budget for 2020-2021. The last board meeting, we had a gap close to $1 million, and we've been working since on finding the ways to close the gap. We want to provide the best of education to our students. At the same time, in these unusual times, we're well aware of the hardship that affects the taxpayers and everyone. Therefore, we still maintain the same tax levy increase that we shared with you on the last board meeting, obviously using the state controller's factors. Next. The tax levy that we're proposing for the 2020-2021 budget stands at $157,286,500, and that represents in absolute numbers a $2,796,273, which is 1.81%. We pegged that to the inflation factor, which is listed by the Office of the State Controller. Historically speaking, this year's inflation factor is slightly lower, and you can see here it's a representation of what has been going on for the last 5 years, so pretty much on the same line as the last 2 years. Our budget that we're submitting has a 2.72% increase year to year from 2019 current year 20 to 2020-21, and that is supported with a proposed tax levy increase of 1.81%. The revenues, again, the two main sources of the revenues for us are the tax levy and the state aid. The state aid reflects what we know so far. The legislator voted on March 31st, and this is the numbers that we have now. However, we know that there will be a review after April 30 of the state aid numbers based on the from the divisional budget at the governor's office, based on the state tax revenues. So the budget is built based on what we know and what is approved. We are closely watching, monitoring the situation, and in any case, in any decision that could affect that state aid after April 30, we will adjust accordingly. Again, the tax levy remains the same as we're proposing at 1.81%. And tax levy and state aid together, they are roughly 95% of our budget. Altogether, with those little small numbers that we have on health services and day school tuition and interest, we come with a $247,753,226 budget. So where the budget is today is at $241,185,222, and what we're proposing, supported by our revenues, is at $247,753,226. Again, 1.81% in summary is what we have assumed as an increase as a year to year on the tax levy. And the state aid reflects what was approved on March 31st by the New York State legislature. Graphically speaking, we can see that almost 64% comes from our tax levy, and 33.3% comes from the state aid. Therefore, we're watching these numbers, and especially the state aid, very closely, because it definitely affects any outcome of the budget. In terms of expenses, again, as we said, Dr. Wortham is submitting a balanced budget, and therefore the expenses stand at the same number as the revenues, and the increase is 2.72%. That is supported by the levy at 1.81%. Expense-wise, the instruction is getting the most. Always more than 50% of our, that's where money is going there, and it is straight instruction without any benefits. However, the benefits on its own represent a 21.6% of the budget, and otherwise general support stands on a pretty low number at 8.2%, and general support we mainly mean central administration and other services that make education available and possible in schools. Altogether, that number matches the revenue amount. Year to year, the general support we shared last time has a decrease, and the decrease is we expect lower legal expenses for next year. And that's also, we have also reduced our general support in order to close the gap. We have, through attrition and certain reduction in the supply lines and contractual expenses, we have reduced the central administration expenses, and that's why you can see that significant drop year to year. The instruction represented 1% increase year to year. The debt service looks larger percentage-wise, as now we have a full $58 million bond to pay. We successfully borrowed in a very hard time, in the middle of the March, and that's why the debt service looks higher than what it was on the current year. And altogether, that represents a 2.72% increase year to year on revenues. I'm sorry, expenses. And expenses, again, graphically speaking, you can see that we strive and we always keep it more than 50% straight instruction without benefits. Benefits on its own are the 22%, and benefits includes the health and pension, workers' compensation, etc. That's what is a sizable expense, but not only for us, it's for every school district in New York State. So the budget is balanced, and that's what we have in front of you today. We have a budget balance, but we would like to simply go over and state, in case of a contingency budget, we don't contemplate that, but in that case, we know that we have to plan for a 0% increase in tax levy. And that means that this budget that we are submitting in front of you today has to be reduced by the amount of $2,796,273. That will be the case when the budget is defeated twice. However, even on those circumstances, by law, we have to identify those ordinary contingent expenses, and that means anything contractual, legal obligations, and anything that will help maintain the educational program, as well as ensure health, safety of students and property.
And that concludes our proposed budget for 2020, 2021. I'd like to announce that on Thursday this week, April 23rd, from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m., we talked about earlier this evening the 3 areas that the governor and the Commissioner of Education have put forward that we are addressing. And so we're going to have a virtual meeting for our parents and we'll talk about several topics, those 3 topics: continuous learning, food distribution, and child care. Any of our parents who would like to submit questions on these topics, feel free to access our website where it says questions. And if you do that by noon on Wednesday, April 22nd, we will be happy to address those questions. And with that, I would like to call on Kathy to talk about the changes to the school.
Dr. Worthing. Excuse me, Dr. Wortham, can I interject for 1 second?
Yes.
I have some concern about the budget. In a normal year, I think it's spot on. I think it's excellent. But in a year where everything I've read in the papers, on the news, is talking about a contraction in the economy of 30 to 40%, and there's massive unemployment all across the district, I don't know that people will go for it. If the economy opens up and people are back to working, I think it's got a much better chance. But if people are still in lockdown, I think it'll be a tough push.
Are we expecting also any changes from state aid or any funding?
There are, I mean, it is not clear, but the state, as the governor's office have discussed on their webinars and other media elements, they are looking at the state revenues. And if those state revenues are lower than what their target is, they have said that they will take action. Now, it's very hard, even them are not clear. On Sunday, Governor Cuomo went on TV and said, we will cut schools. Schools might be cut 50%. On Monday, he comes in TV and he said, that could be 20%. So day-to-day numbers are very fluid. At this point, they will have to see what their revenues are and what their expenses are, and then expecting to inform the public and anyone else maybe in the first week of May. The budget vote has been postponed sometime on after June 1st. So I believe that is the reason for all this. They are not clear what, and that depends also what the federal government will provide New York State. I think they're looking at that perspective too. So as we know more from them, we will have to adjust.
Pachi and Ms. Curie.
Thank you, Dr. Wortham. So as Mr. Pachi just mentioned, the school vote has been postponed by the governor. His executive order 202.13 postponed the school elections until June 1st at least, is how he worded it. He has not given us a new date, and given those uncertainties and changes coming from the COVID-19, we did not send our legal notice of election to newspapers for publishing because there are no dates to publish right now. Once the governor has designated a date or we have more information, we will publish at that time. I have posted the pertinent portions of 202.13 on the district clerk pages on the website, primarily the circulation, filing, and collection of any designating petitions or independent nominating petitions for any office that would otherwise be circulated or filed pursuant to the election law, education law, or any other consolidated law for any office commencing March 31st, 2020 are hereby postponed. Any school board, library board, or village election scheduled to take place in April or May of 2020 is hereby postponed until at least June 1, 2020, and subject to further directive as to the timing, location, or manner of voting for such elections. I've changed the status to inactive for the candidate forms, the petitions and financial reporting for the absentee ballot requests on the website, so people will not be able to access them because right now we don't know what needs to change on them. Wherever the district clerk pages had stated the election date, it is now changed to read date to be determined. And stay tuned. When we hear more from the governor, we'll update the website and go from there. Thank you, Dr. Wortham.
Thank you, Ms. Curie. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Wortham. Moving on, we have consent agenda items. We have items 1 through 11. Do I have a motion for consent agenda items 1 through 11?
Yeah.
Who moved?
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
We're doing consent agenda items?
Yes.
I think it's number 5. I don't have the document. I'm struggling to pull up the document here. But the resignation of the transportation director, I'd like to request that we could hold off until after executive session, please.
Okay, with the exclusion of the resignation of the director of transportation until after executive session.
You know, we have both in there though, both a resignation and a reinstating.
Yes, there were 2 in there.
They're both in there. I don't have the paper in front of me either, but we had his resignation, and then later on we had his reinstatement.
But the resignation was not voted on, so it shouldn't be there.
Right, Yehuda's referring to the rescinding of the resignation.
Right.
And I think that's what he wants to hold. Is that what you want to hold off until after executive session?
The board never voted on the resignation, so it really should not be there.
I think the reason it's there is it had the recommendations from the March meeting and the recommendations from this meeting. So on the one from the March meeting, it was the resignation, and on the one from this meeting, it was rescinding it.
Right, and that there was no need, wasn't any. Ms. Skolnick?
Yes, Dr. Wortham.
Okay, so not be there.
Hello?
It should not be on there or wasn't on there.
The board meeting, yes, you want to respond, Dr. Wortham? Can you hear me?
No, I can't.
Can you hear me now?
The resignation for Director of Transportation was not on this agenda, or?
Was not for this agenda, no.
Right.
It was on the agenda that was for the board meeting that was postponed. And then it was on that agenda, and the addendum was to rescind it, and that board meeting was not held. So we did not put those items on the agenda for this evening.
Okay.
So, Mr. Weissmandel, as it's not on the agenda, there's nothing to table.
I think Mr. Weissman was talking about consent agenda item number 5. No, number 4 is not on the agenda, I guess, or it's not supposed to be on the agenda, but number 5 is on the agenda. Can we table, I guess?
There should be nothing to table because it shouldn't be on the agenda.
Mr. Grossman, can we please table consent agenda items until after executive session?
If there's an error on the agenda, then there can be a motion made to remove the item from the agenda, second it, and then you amend the agenda, and you can pass the consent items with that amendment. What I'm hearing is that there was a resignation at the March meeting that was carried over to this meeting, and that this meeting there was a rescinding of that resignation, which was never voted on. So the whole thing is a non sequitur. Nothing has changed. So I think the appropriate thing to do, if I'm understanding what's happening, is that there should be just a motion to remove the rescinding and resignation, the resignation and then rescinding thereof from this agenda in its entirety. Is that correct?
Mary?
Doug Schwedler's not going anywhere. Is that correct?
Correct. There was an agenda for the meeting which was postponed, the last meeting which was postponed. On that agenda, there was a resignation, and there was an addendum to rescind the resignation. Neither one of those items are on tonight's agenda. If they were put forward, those are not correct. There's a different civil service agenda for this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez.
Mr.
I've got to
Gerhart?
I've got to pull the agenda up. I'm not clear what Yehuda's looking at.
I'm looking for us to hold off on the agenda until after executive session, please.
Or at least the civil service personnel piece.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm asking Mary to confirm that the agenda that I signed off for this meeting is the agenda that is for this meeting.
Yes, Dr. Wortham, that is correct.
Okay.
So what I would like to do is make a motion for consent agenda items 1 through 11, with the exception of the civil service personnel recommendations, until after executive session.
I'll move.
Second, Mark seconding.
Joel Trieger first.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. How do you want to do it? Do you want to do a roll call, Kathy?
We just asked if there are any nays or
Or
abstentions.
are there any nays? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes. Moving forward. Action items from the board. We have nomination for a BOCES board representative. Originally, I was going to table this, but I'd prefer not to do it. I'd actually like to make a recommendation that I think Sabrina Charles Pierre would be excellent in the position, and open that up to discussion. Actually, we first have to do the motion. A motion for action items from the board 1 through 4. Actually, I think we first have to fill in who the BOCES board representative would be. So I'd like to recommend Sabrina. Open to discussion. It doesn't have to be a board member. It could be somebody from the community.
I agree.
Let's ask everybody to identify who you are when you speak.
It's me, Ashley. I agree with the nomination for Sabrina.
Okay.
This is Mr.
Sabrina,
Tree.
will you accept the nomination? That's the question.
Yes.
Sabrina, do you want, oh, that's good. I would double and check it. Fine, I'm fine with it.
I'm in
Any
favor.
other comment?
I'm in favor of Sabrina's end.
Okay, then I will make a motion for action items from the board 1 through 4, with Sabrina's name being inserted as the BOCES board representative on item number 2. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
I'll second, Mark.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 I'm going to vote aye with the exception on number 4, where I want to abstain. Are we good, Kathy?
We're good. Just confirm the only abstain is Mr. Grossman on item number 4 of that. Correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Action items from the superintendent. We have items 1 through 9. Do I have a motion for action items from the superintendent 1 through 9?
Yeah, I will make a motion.
Who said that?
Effie.
E. Weissman.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second, Sabrina.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any nays or abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on, information and reports from the board. And this is where we will interview the 2 candidates for the open board positions. Kathy, are both people present?
We need to check with Azar if Miss Anderson is in the meeting now, but
I see
Miss
Miss
Fields
Anderson
is there.
using the phone.
Okay.
I saw her earlier. Just for her now.
Okay.
Yes, she is there. Miss Anderson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Okay.
She's there.
So, Mr. Grossman, what we had told the applicants is they could speak to the board for up to 3 minutes, and then the board can ask any questions they want.
Okay. Did we determine who's going first or the order?
No, we didn't, but since Miss Anderson comes first alphabetically and we have her confirmed to be participating, why don't we start with her?
That works for me. Thank you. Ms. Anderson?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, board members. Before I start, I would like to thank Dr. Wortham, Gene Fields, and the East Ramapo tech person for getting me into this meeting because I couldn't do it alone. Okay, education is the great equalizer or the beacon of hope for the children of the East Ramapo Central School District. Through education, we, meaning all the different groups in East Ramapo Central School District, should be concerned about providing quality education for all children, public and private. All trustees in the East Ramapo School, East Ramapo Board have taken an oath to represent all children, public and private. If I am selected as a trustee, I will adhere to that oath. Now about me. I was raised by a single mother and her mother. My mother and grandmother should be classified as members of the working poor. They worked, but we were poor. I can relate to many of the public school children in East Ramapo because they are members of the working poor class. I think that these children deserve to have members of the board who look like them and who can relate to them because they have similar backgrounds. My mother and grandmother were staunch advocates for education. They made sure that I was motivated to aim high in school and life. I would like to end this part of my presentation by saying I strongly believe in public education because public education has enabled me to be able to come before you and present my qualifications to be a member of the East Ramapo Central School District Board. Now my educational background. I am a graduate of Howard University with a BA in elementary ed. I attended City College of New York where I obtained 2 master's degrees, one in education and one in education supervision and administration. Now my license. I have a license from New York City, Common Branch license. I also have a license as a principal of a day elementary and also an assistant principal of a day elementary school. I have New York State certification as a school building administrator. Now, as a person that lives in the East Ramapo School District, I am very much involved. And at present, I'm on the board of the West Street Child Care Learning Center, where I am the president. I was a member of the United East Ramapo. I am a member of the Superintendent's Community Circle for the East Ramapo Central School District. I am a present member of Strong East Ramapo. Before I became president of West Street Child Care Learning Center, I was the treasurer. I was a member of Save Our School Coalition. I am a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Wesley Hills. I am a member of the stakeholders for public education. Presently, I serve as the NAACP representative to the Personnel Committee for the East Ramapo Central School District. I'm also on the NAACP Board of Directors. I am a member of the NAACP Education Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Ms. Keevy, do we want the two candidates to first do their presentation and then ask questions?
It's really up to the board what you would prefer.
Then I'll open up to the board. What do you prefer?
I'd like to hear both of them first.
Agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay. In that case, Ms. Fields?
I believe I just unmuted myself.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so you all can hear me. First of all, I'd like to thank Superintendent Wortham for the work that she's done and is continuing to do, and to thank the board. I'd like to also welcome our newest monitor, Bruce Singer. I know that Dr. Lowe is very happy to have a partner. So Ms. Keevy had sent a list of things that she thought that we should talk about. I am not going to go over my resume because I believe that you all have that in front of you. But I will start with her questions. And the first one, first of all, I'm Jean Fields. I'm a retired high school principal from Ramapo High School. I served as an administrator in that school, or in the district actually, for 15 years. And most of my educational background experience happened in the East Ramapo Central School District. So why would I like to be a board member? Number of reasons. I think it's a serious job. It's a very time-consuming commitment, and it requires lots of dedication. And I know you're all aware of that. As a prospect, I would be willing to listen to and work with others, as well as to be a problem solver. So some of my reasons are very dear to me. My children, both of my boys, attended the district from elementary to their exits from Ramapo High School. I have a desire to serve and to support the district because it's very dear to my heart. Many of the relationships that I've made were made when I worked in East Ramapo. Those relationships are lasting relationships, and I still have a desire to see students do well. I remember as a child, I was so motivated by my parents who constantly pushed and encouraged that I knew as an adult I'd be successful. Whatever level of success you think this is, I certainly feel that I am a successful adult. And when I look at students today and I ask them, what do you see your future being like? And many of them would say to me, oh, I don't know if I'm going to live to be 21, or I don't know what's in the future. And I want to change that mindset. I want them to know that if they work hard, that they can become who they want to become, and be the cheerleader for those students, as Dr. Wortham is right now. I believe that I can make a difference in the overall quality of education that the district is providing. What is my responsibility to the taxpayer? Pardon me? Did someone say something?
No, continue.
Thank you. Mr. Pachi talked about the budget tonight. So I think a part of my responsibility, or as a board member, would be to present a balanced budget, but also to carry out my fiduciary responsibility by using wisely tax monies and being fair and responsible with those monies. Also, in addition to that, by seeking advice and listening to the taxpayers in the district. So let's give some examples of your interpersonal skills and ability to work with others. As a high school principal and an assistant principal, it is important for one to be able to work with others. Having a number of teachers with different personalities and different mindsets, it's extremely important. And I think that I could do that as I did it for many, many years. I have excellent communication skills. I love public speaking, and I know my written skills are also excellent. I have the ability to work and interact with anyone. What is the role of the school board versus the role of the individual member? As a responsible school board member, again, I believe it's my responsibility to work with other members on the board, as well as serve the public. Listen to parents, hear their ideas, turnkey their ideas, and come up with something that's agreed on with the board. But I think it's most important to listen to what your community members are saying. What previous experience has prepared me for being on the board? Again, I think it's being a high school principal. I was an adjunct professor at SUNY Rockland. I was also an adjunct professor for Syracuse University. It says, describe previous experience with community or nonprofit groups. I've participated, since I've lived in Rockland County actually for more than 30 years now, I have participated in so many CBOs, and I've served on their boards, a number of boards I've served on, and I still continue to be active in many of the community-based organizations. What direction would I like to see the district go? I really would like to see the continued success and development in all areas, not limited to, though, improved graduation rates, ELA and math scores improved, so that we can truly be competitive with the other school districts that are in the county. How much time can you commit to board duties? As you all know, I'm retired and I am willing to devote whatever time is necessary to handle the business of the school board should I be chosen. I believe those are all the questions Ms. Keevy sent. In addition to that, some of the responsibilities of the board, I believe, to prioritize the budget for the school district, to have the final say on hiring of personnel, establishing a vision that reflects the goals of the community, its staff, and the board, to make decisions on school expansions and closures. And many boards manage to do collective bargaining for district employees, that we do that. But the bottom line is, I think I'm qualified, and I think that I would serve well. I'm willing to do what is necessary to get us to where they need to be. And I eagerly be involved in any capacity. As I said, I don't want to talk about my education. I think you can see I've got a bachelor's degree. Started a 6-year certificate with Columbia University, never finished. And I've got licenses, high school level licenses, and superintendent, as well as school building principals license. You can look at my recognitions in the county. I've been here. I don't want to read them, they're too extensive, but it gives you an idea of what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bales. I'll now open it up to the board to ask questions of both candidates.
So if nobody's going to say anything, can I ask Carol Anderson a question?
Go ahead.
I don't know if she could hear me.
Yes, I
Carol,
can hear you.
me? It's Joel Freiler.
Yes.
So we've sat on our little our round table with Wilson and other people, and I've learned a lot about you and the people in the public school community. What can you tell me have you learned during that process that will help guide you if you were to become board member?
Would you repeat the last part of your question? You said what? I couldn't understand what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did you learn during our meetings that will help guide you? To be a better school board member if you would like?
Okay. The meetings I felt was very helpful because it changed my view about members of the board. And in fact, to the point that I really enjoyed hearing what you had to say. And it also made me feel that you listened to the concerns, because I had a lot of concerns that members of the community had come to me. And I felt that you listened, and I think that that was the most important thing, that you listened to what I had to say. And it changed my view of the members that were on the board that attended that meeting.
Okay, and I have the utmost respect for you. So.
Oh, thank you, Joel, and I have the most respect for you too.
I have a question, if I can follow up. I have a question from
yes.
Just because Joel asked the question of Carol Anderson, I'll ask her. And this really goes back to what you were saying. You were speaking about how important it is to speak to community members to get a sense of what people want, how people
yes.
So this is a question. Can you hold on, Joel? Can you hold on for this? Effie, can you mute your microphone because it keeps getting feedback? Thanks. Go ahead.
So my question is a general question. So as a board member, how would you handle criticism or ridicule from community members about, I'm just going to choose a specific issue, but there's sometimes this is an issue that may come up. So let's say the board has dedicated a majority of transportation funding to transporting students in private schools. And as a member of the board, you did this perhaps because you realized that legally, if you're transporting public school students, you need to transport private school students.
That is correct.
You also recognize that while this dollar amount seems to be somewhat disproportionate, you realize that the actual per pupil cost for transporting private school students is much less than transporting the public school students. The larger dollar amount represents the majority of tax-paying families who send their children to these private schools. So in recognition of that, how would you perhaps explain this? How would you help fellow community members understand this?
Well, what you're saying is difficult, okay? And I think that as a board member, I would have to really look at that transportation budget because I have concerns. Now, I do know that the state reimburses East Ramapo a proportion of the money that they have to use for transportation. And believe me, I know that in order to transport students, it costs money and a lot of money. So I think as a member of the board, I would try to make the community people who have come to me in regards to the funding to let them know that I have looked into it and the cost is legitimate.
I would like to ask Ms. Fields the same question.
Do you mean Ms. Anderson?
No, that was Miss Anderson speaking. Now I'm speaking. Gene Fields.
Yeah.
Okay. In order for me to explain anything to someone, my father used to say, don't try to explain anything if you don't understand it yourself. Okay, so I would definitely have to understand how it's done. And then I would hold small group sessions with members of my community who may not understand. And I am more than sure that they would, once they see it, and if they were trusting enough of what I say, I think, and I can prove to them by figuring it out, I think that they'll go along with it.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'd like to know, as board members, what are you looking for in the ideal board member?
I think the questions that the district clerk provided to you is a synopsis of what the board is looking for. I think it sums it up.
I think a good summary would be Ms. Fields, Joel Freiler.
Mm-hmm.
The summary would be that it's different streaming from the peanut gallery than sitting up there and actually doing the work. What we're doing I know Carol, but I don't know you, unfortunately, right now. I know Carol, and I know she's an earnest person. If she would get on the board, I'm not talking about Carol specifically, I'm talking about the type of person. We sat together on many meetings together, and she really listened to what we have to say and understood it and tried to clarify many points, and she was very good at what she did. And the main point is that people have issues with things that the board does. That's fine. They can have issues with it, but they have to be open to understanding. As a board member, you have to be open to understanding the way things work. How the cookies crumble. I agree. Once you understand that, is pass that information along to people who want to hear from you, to the community, and say, this is what I found, and I'm going to explain to you in a way that you can best understand. That's basically my summary of what a school board member is supposed to do. We're elected. People elect us to office with the vision that will get back to them with feedback and explain what we're doing. Of course. Information. All right. That's my other thing. So I don't really know you. I hope to get to know you more as this session goes on. Same here.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Thank you. I have a specific question actually for both candidates, if they could both take an opportunity to answer. They've both presented fine resumes, and they spoke about their ability to serve. I'd like them to refer back to their history and their past and point to a specific experience in their ability to interact with opposing views, with different communities, with different ethnicities, their ability and their experience in working not only within, to quote, I believe, Ms. Anderson, about representing children that look exactly like her. Can she point to experience where she worked for other communities and other groups that didn't look like that? And their ability individually to interact with opposing ideas and people that have different backgrounds and different concepts of what is important and what has to be done. I'd like to hear, your response to that, please.
I'll go first, Carol.
Yeah, you can go first and then I'll go.
Okay. First of all, I think that being a high school principal with something like 160 people on staff, all with different views, not everyone believes what you say and not everyone is going to go along with what you do. I think that's a very good example. But in addition to that, I also worked as a part of my teaching experience with groups of students, and they were all different diversities. And one of the things we did was to be trained in peer mediation. That was an experience on its own. And the other was natural helpers. And it basically was putting yourself in the shoes of someone else and then responding to or offering a solution by being in that person's shoes. And sometimes you had no idea. The bottom line is really you have no idea what someone is going through until you talk to them and hear their experiences. So that was a big eye opener for me. And the other thing I was going to say is that many years ago, I attended a workshop called Undoing Racism, which opened my eyes very, very much. And it's changed my life, and it's changed the way I react to others, and it's changed the way that I respond to others.
Okay. Can I go now? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, Carol, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I want to, I'm going to start by saying, last year, I think it was, from 2018 to 2019, I participated along with Harry and Yoel and Joel with United East Ramapo. And that, to me, was eye-opening because I came into that group with ideas that we could not get together. We could not come together. And it was eye-opening because of the fact that I was able to express my views, and I felt very comfortable expressing my views because Harry, Yoel, and Joel listened to what I had to say, because many of the views that I had, I heard from people in my community, and this is the way they felt about the board. And I was able to, after I was able to meet with the board members, I felt very comfortable because of the fact, and I said this before, that you were listening to what I had to say. And I felt that that was very important. And I felt that we made a lot of progress because I came out of those meetings and spoke to different people in my community. And I told them that there was a possibility that we could come together because of the division in East Ramapo. At this point, it was awful. And by just coming to those meetings and talking, I was able to feel that there was a possibility that we could come together. Also, I wanted to say I served I worked with Manhattanville College, and I served as a mentor to graduate students in education. And the students that I worked with was a very diverse group. And I was able to relate to them, and they were able to relate to me. And I was very comfortable, and they were very comfortable with the ideas that I shared with them. So I think that I have that ability to work with various groups of people. So, and I wanted to say something else, which I didn't have an opportunity to say. In working with United East Ramapo, I asked various members to come to the West Street Child Care Learning Center graduation. And I was very honored because of the fact that Joel came. And this I felt was great because those children graduating from the center were the kids that were going into the East Ramapo schools. And I felt that those kids needed to see someone from the board to know that the board cared about them. So that's what I wanted to say. And I thank you again, Joe.
Experience. It was an amazing experience. I got to meet them, the late Rita Johnson at that event also.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Do any of the board members have any additional questions? I will take that silence to mean no. I want to thank Ms. Fields. I want to thank Ms. Anderson for making yourselves available this evening. As the district clerk, I believe, had indicated, the board will discuss it in executive session. Is that correct, Kathy?
I'm sorry, Mr. Grossman. Could you just tell me the question again, please?
That I believe in the directions or in, that we had provided, that the board had indicated that it will discuss filling the seat during executive session.
Yes, it will discuss considerations on filling the seat, and then we'll return to open session at the end of executive.
Okay.
Does that open session potentially include a vote on the items discussed in the
Yes, it will if the board makes that decision that they want to consider that. The process we said is they would put it up for vote, and if there's a majority vote, then that person would be appointed. If not, the president can either choose to do more deliberations, or they can appoint someone else, or they can decide to start the process over again. That's all consistent with what the New York State School Boards Association recommends for handling vacancies.
Thank you, Ms. Keevy. Once again, I want to thank you, Ms. Fields. And thank you, Ms. Anderson, for making yourselves available to be board members. As you had indicated, it is a huge responsibility and certainly consumes a lot of time. Making yourselves available this evening as well. And I just a sincere thank you to both of you.
You're very welcome, all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay home and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, future meeting dates. A regular meeting, if anything is regular nowadays, is scheduled for May 5th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Due to the new normal that we're living in, this will be a Zoom meeting as this was, and the information will be made available prior to the meeting. Were there any written communications? There were no written communications since the last board meeting. And now executive session.
Yes.
Just one moment, sorry.
Okay. We're calling our first time out. We had the Patriots, and now
Yeah.
it is the football draft tomorrow night. So
Okay.
Thursday night.
All right.
Look at Effie's background.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right?
All right.
I'm off my day.
So executive session to discuss possible litigation for multiple construction-related matters, negotiation with multiple unions, and matters leading to the appointment of a particular person to the Board of Education.
Okay. I'll make a motion to go to executive session to discuss the items as delineated by the district clerk. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I will second.
Oh, sorry, Effie.
That was Mr. E. Weiss Mandel who seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any nays or abstentions? Barring any, motion passes. As indicated, when we come out of executive session, it's possible that there will be a resolution. But at this point in time, that's unclear. If you decide to stay, wonderful. And if you decide to go, have a good evening and stay safe. Everybody stay safe. Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.